Hello, my name is Jessica. Thank you for joining me. So in our practice today, we're going to focus a lot on small movements as a type of conditioning practice to open up our neck, our shoulders, our wrists, and even potentially our low back. A lot of the stuff that we will do today, I have learned from teachers Megan Kearney, Chaterrwyn, and team Trina Altman. And yeah, so if you're looking for more specific information than what I can provide, I encourage you to check out those teachers. Great. So we're going to start by making sure that we have all of our necessary props. So make sure you have at least 2 blocks, a blanket, and a strap. And we can start by just discarding our blocks and our strap for a moment, and then just grabbing your blanket. And you'll start with your blanket folded about a quarter. And then you'll take the fringe side and neatly and compactly being an important part, roll that blanket all the way towards the other end until it looks like something like this. And you really want to make sure the blanket is really neat and compact. And then you'll bring that to the top third of your space. And once it's set and sorted, you'll turn around and face behind you. And the first thing that you'll do is just give yourself a hug. And you'll locate the bottom tips of your shoulder blades, so that triangular part of the shoulder blade, the little edge of the Dorito. And then your hands will come to your blanket roll. You'll slide your pelvis as far forward as you need to in order to bring those bottom tips of the shoulder blade onto the blanket. From there, bring your head into your hands. And then you'll start to push your head back into your hands to descend the head towards the floor. Now, you might find that this is already a lot of a back bend, so you can go ahead and put a blanket underneath your head if you need to, or you might put a block. It just depends upon how much rounding is happening in your upper shoulder blade. And then once the head does descend onto the floor, go ahead and cactus the arms out to the right and to the left. So the arms are above the blanket, parallel to the blanket, and your legs can stay bent, or you can extend the legs long. But you'll just take 3 to 5 breaths here, and you'll notice that the chest is really being thrust up towards the sky. And as best as you can you allow some softness to come into the back of the body where you feel that blanket pressing into the spine? Can you allow a bit of softness to come in your face if you're grimacing across your face? And then can you take in a deeper breath? And we'll be here for about another 30 seconds or so. So if you want to allow audible exhalations through the mouth, by all means, go ahead and do that. Sometimes an audible sigh just lets the body relax a little bit more succinctly and efficiently. So just allow yourself to notice if that's true for you. Okay. And then from here, go ahead and reach both arms up towards the sky like little zombies. And you'll reach up through your fingers, and your knees can stay bent or the legs can be straight. It's totally up to you. But you'll inhale and reach your fingers up towards the sky and then up and over your head, finding a length across your side ribs. And then exhale, the hands come back up and over your chest. This time as you inhale, the arms sweep over towards your left. And exhale, they sweep all the way over to the right. And you want to keep the arms straight through this whole part. Inhale, arms back through center. And this time, exhale, them come up and over your head, seeing if you can draw the front ribs in and down. Inhale, drawing the arms back up over your chest. And exhale this time to the right. And inhale through center and over to the left. Exhale back through center. And then inhale, arms up and overhead. And we'll just do that 2 more times. Exhale, arms back over the chest. Inhale them towards the right. And exhale them over to the left, like little reeds swaying in the wind. Inhale, both arms over your chest. And exhale, arms alongside your ears. Inhale, arms up and over the chest. And exhale to the right. And inhale all the way over to the left. Exhale back through center. And this time as you inhale, reach both arms up and overhead. You might turn your palms to face the sky, or you might just extend out through the fingers. From here, if the knees are bent, slide one leg forward, Slide the other leg forward and draw both legs parallel towards one another. So the heels are pressing down, the toes are curling up, and you're lengthening your buttocks flesh down toward your heels as you're reaching out through the arms. And then see if you can breathe into the back of the body as you close your front ribs down and behind you, and you widen across the back ribs into the blanket. Nice job. On your next exhalation, gently bend your knees and plant one foot and then the other on the floor. Make your way over to your right side. So keep your right arm alongside your ears, and you'll just take a moment to pause. That blanket is most likely underneath your lowest ribs, and you might inchworm your right arm forward a little bit more. Left palm comes in front of you. And you've got 3 to 5 breath cycles here to do whatever the heck you want. I would encourage you to roll a little to the floor both ways. So you're rolling towards your left hand, and then you're rolling back onto your back, and you're just noticing what is happening here. Most likely we're getting at those intercostals and muscles between the ribs. When you're directly on your side, you're probably getting at your serratus anterior. When you're on your back, maybe a little bit more of your latissimus dorsi. And you're just noticing what you notice as you rock and roll a little forward and back. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and come to a spot where it feels like there's a little bit of sensation, not too much, but just enough. And you'll just take 3 to 5 breaths here. And as best as you can, notice how you can soften around the rib cage, to soften around the blanket, giving yourself permission to be in the shape as you are, in this moment as you are, without needing to effort too much. Great. Roll your chest more towards your left hand. Slide your right hand back just a bit so that you can slide your blanket roll forward. So now the blanket roll is underneath your armpit. Really put it in the crux of your armpit. Your right arm continues to reach forward. And then you'll do that same thing. So you'll roll a little bit forward and a little bit back. And now in this position, you might get your pec major and pec minor as you come forward. And you might get some of subscapularis, or some of the muscles that are on the back of the shoulder blade as you go back. And you're again just paying attention to what you're feeling in your body. The practice today is really tuning into our internal experience more so than the external experience. That being said, I will give you a lot of cues for the external experience. Okay, find a spot for you that feels like it's sensational. There's something going on that's not too bad. It's just right in the Goldilocks analogy. And then just take 2 more breath cycles there, noticing how you can soften. Notice what you can let go of. And notice how you can receive that blanket more into that muscle group. Awesome sauce. Reach both arms alongside your ears, and as gracefully as you can, you'll roll onto your back, massaging as you go and making your way onto the other side. Now, when you find yourself with your left arm forward, you'll probably have to slide that blanket roll back. So it's now in the middle of your rib cage, it feels like, right where your shoulder blade is. And you'll do the same thing that you did on the first side. So rolling, whoa, that's intense. A little forward and a little back. And you're just paying attention to what's happening for you, noticing that the right side and the left side, as much as we would like them to be completely symmetrical, they're their own unique entities that collaborate to help our body do whatever our body needs to do, whatever our mind tells our body we want it to do. And so once you've found your sweet spot, take 3 steady breaths there, noticing how you can soften, how you can let go in order to receive the opening that's created by that blanket. And paying attention to if there's any grimacing happening in the face or holding on of the breath. Okay, roll your chest more towards your right hand. Slide your left hand back a bit. Slide your blanket forward a bit so it's now underneath the crook of your armpit. And then you'll do all that again. And you're just noticing that maybe on this side, maybe in this orientation, more of your chest can come towards the floor as you roll forward. Or maybe more of your chest can spin up to the sky as you roll back. But again, you're just observing what's happening for you as you go a little forward and back. And then you're going to find your sweet spot and take 3 steady breaths. Audible exhalations might be very helpful here. I'm just allowing the nervous system to settle a bit. Okay, go ahead and roll more towards that front hand. Press into your hands and slide yourself back up to sit. Cool. Then we'll make our way forward onto our hands and our knees. And if you need to, you'll bring one block to one side and the other block to the other side. This just helps for a little bit of stability as well as assistance. And then you'll bring your forehead to the floor and tuck your blanket roll into the crook of your knees. And you want to get it as tightly wound back there as you can. And then you might just lean forward with your hands on the floor. Your hands might be on the block, or you might bring yourself all the way to sit. And then once you're vertical, you're going to breathe. And you might stay in stillness, or you might move around a little bit. So in our practice today, we're really focusing on how we can tune in, tap in to what we're experiencing on the internal landscape. So just really notice what you notice here. How is the breath in the body? How are you experiencing sensation on the backs of the legs? How are you noticing any tension in your mouth, your eyes, your jaw? Cool. Go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. And then we'll take a quarter turn with that blanket, drawing it in the middle of our calves. Whoa. And then see how you can receive the support or the pressure from the back of the blanket, both on the hamstrings as well as the calves. And again, you might stay still. You might shift a little bit right to left, but you're tapping in, you're listening to what feels good to you, what the body is opening and receiving, and where you can notice that you might be bracing, and see if you can soften in those spots just a millimeter of a percent, or percentage of a percent. 1,000th of a percent would be helpful. Cool. And go ahead and come to stillness and take a quarter turn with that blanket and draw it flush up to the backs of your Achilles, your ankles. And for me, I like to try to point my toes like a dancer, so my toes curl up towards my butt and then release them down. So it's just a little flexion and extension in the feet. And sometimes that feels really good. Sometimes just shifting around right to left feels good as you roll onto the outer edges of the feet. But again, it really just depends upon you. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and go to stillness. You can say bye-bye to that blanket roll for a moment. And then we'll just tuck our toes under, walk our toes together, walk our knees together. And you might just stay here, pushing your heels back and feeling a nice stretch across the plantar region of your feet. Or you might come all the way up to stand. And when we find ourselves here, we're going to create little clawing actions. And we'll just do 3 of these. So you're going to slowly curl the fingers in towards each other and create a little fist. And then maybe like you're a motorcycle rider, draw your knuckles forward and then slowly release that up. Stretch out through all of your fingers and then curl them in again. Little tight fists. Ride your motorcycles and release. And open and then curl them in again. Little fists. Ride your little motorcycles or your little Harleys. You got your hugs. And then you'll open your arms out and spread wide. And then we'll just take a little wrist circle here. If toe squat's working for you, by all means, hang out there. Otherwise, you'll come forward, tops of the feet to the floor, pitter patter your toes, having a happy little temper tantrum. And then you might shift your weight back, take a counter stretch if this feels okay on your knees and ankles, lifting one or both knees up and away from the floor. If you're still in toe squat, hang out there. Otherwise, you might choose to take a Virasana hero's pose. So a block will come between your ankles and you'll sit down on top of the block. You want to make sure that your buttocks is flush. Buttocks flush is wide so that you've got a firm base. Okay, adding on. Take your right hand and reach it out in front of you. Your left hand will come in front of your right hand. So the fingers are pushing into that left palm and the left palm is pulling into your fingers. So neither one is overpowering. You've got an equal opposite action. Okay, and your thumb is trying to just hang out there and be active as well. Cool. Then you'll release that. Left hand comes to the right pinky finger. You keep breathing. You'll inhale, pull the pinky finger down and then slightly back behind you. And we'll work our way to the ring finger, making sure you're still breathing, pulling the finger down and back behind you. And as you continue to move through each of your fingers, can you notice if you can spread wide through the other 4 fingers? The tendency is but the hand wants to curl in. And so we want to see if we can keep that open. And then as we find ourselves at our thumb, you'll pull your thumb back and in towards the left. So it's coming in towards your right forearm instead of down towards your thigh. Awesome sauce. And then you release that little flamenco twirl in the wrist, and then give the hand a little shake. Great. Let's try that on the other side. So your left palm comes forward like a little stop sign, turned upside down. Right fingers come to left fingers push into right fingers pull into left. And you'll just notice if you can take a breath in here and soften anything you don't need to hold. And then we'll go through each hand individually. So for each finger individually, pull the left pinky finger down and back behind you. And make sure you're still breathing. And gradually work your way to the ring finger. And then to the middle finger. Eventually to the index finger, and you're just breathing and spreading wide through the other 4 fingers. And then all the way to the thumb, and the thumb pulls back into the forearm. So it doesn't pull down, it pulls laterally to the left. Awesome. And then little flamenco twirls. Shake the hands out. Okay, adding on. Bring both hands in towards each other, and you're going to push the palms into each other to really see if you can like suction the hands. And then here you can notice that you can push the fingertip pads into each other, and it feels like you can claw your hands almost. So the hands don't curl in like this, but you're pressing into each other. There's an activation there. And then thumbs at sternum, sternum lifts up, shoulder blades slide down, and see if you can take in a deeper breath. Now you could stay right here and just simply pull the heels of the hands apart while keeping the knuckles touching as best as you can. And then draw the heels of the hands back to touch. You can also turn your fingers to face the floor and do the same thing. And you're just noticing what this does to the forearms, to the neck, to the shoulders, to the wrists. Gently release. Interlace your hands, coming to a prayer position. And then I'd like you to do the wave. Wave. And you'll just take about, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 that way. And as best as you can, see if you can reverse that movement. Now that's probably more of a brain thing than it is anything else. So that's that. Come back to center. Turn the heels of your hands to face forward. And you really want to press out through the heels of your hands. And you might tuck your chin to your chest and round through the upper spine as you push the heels of your hands forward. And then reach them up and overhead. Heels of the hands lift up. Inner armpits soften and hollow. And maybe see if you can roll a little higher by inchworming your shoulders and arms up. Nice work. Hands come forward, hands come back to prayer. And then look at which thumb's on top and switch to the other thumb being on top. Send the heels of your hands forward. Tuck the chin to your chest and round through your spine. And you might stay there, fidgeting around a little bit, or you might reach your arms up and overhead, softening through any parts of the body that don't need to be working. And see if you can send the pinky fingers up evenly on both hands. Nice work. Hands come back to center. And then you'll just release that. And one last thing. So we're going to prep ourselves for our strap. So go ahead and grab your strap. And you'll unwind your strap. And then take the tail end of the strap. If you're working with the D-ring loop, you'll go through both loops, over the first and under the second one. And you want to make a loop that, it depends upon the proportions of your body, but mine is about 2 feet. So you want to see if you can make it 1.5 to 2 feet. It really just depends upon how wide your shoulders are and how wide your hips and your waist are. You want to have it a little bit wider than your shoulders because it'll make life a lot easier. Okay. So that being said, let's bring ourselves up to stand. Bring your block in between your thighs, and you can put it on whatever orientation works best for you. I like to have mine on the second or this longer setting on the first setting just because it feels better in my hips. It gives me something to touch. Okay. First thing that you'll do is once you're standing, I want you to lift all 10 of your toes, spread wide through the toes, and then put your feet down onto the floor. Now, when the feet are down onto the floor, push down evenly through the foot, lightly hug into your block. And then notice that now you have space to lengthen your tailbone, buttocks, flesh down, while you scoop the pubic bone up, the navel in. And then check in with those front ribs, see if you can pull them back like you're pushing into that blanket roll behind you. And then grab your happy strap. Now, you'll bring your strap up and over your head, V for victory leg, and this comes from Trina Altman. So we're gonna bend our elbows, coming to a 90-degree angle as best as we can. Hug your elbows forward and draw the hands back. Now you wanna make sure that you're still hugging into your block, but not locking out your knees, lengthening your tail down and stacking your head over your shoulders. Great. Now she calls these halo circles, so we're going to take some circles. You'll take a big breath in as you pull your hands to the left, start to straighten the left arm, start to straighten the right arm, and then exhale as you bend the right elbow and then pull with the left hand. And you've just got 3 more of those. Seeing if you can breathe as you do this without letting your head come forward, because that's a little cheat that's not always so good for us. And we want to make sure that we're not dumping in the low back, so our spine stays long and straight. And you might start to feel a little bit of a burn happening on the tops of your arms. These are your deltoids. And you're just noticing what you notice. This should be our last one. Awesome sauce. And then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So elbows in front of you, head over your hips, arms in line, or rather hands in line with your ears. And start to pull to the right, inhaling, arms straight and up, and then exhale, bending the left elbow and pulling with the right hand to draw the hands back to the first side. And you'll just do about 3 more of these, noticing that your upper arms are probably burning quite a bit. Seeing if you can keep hugging your front ribs in and back and keep your legs pretty engaged. And we'll say this is our last one, going over to the right. Straighten both legs, over to the left, and back to center. And you can just release the strap for a moment and just notice, oh wow, arms are definitely on fire. Okay, adding on. So bring the strap into your left hand and bring the strap behind you. Grab the strap with your right hand and make sure your knuckles are facing down, the backs of your hands are facing forward, and your palms are facing back. Now, separate your arms as much as you need to. So I highly encourage you to go a little bit wider than your shoulders, but you do whatever's gonna work for you. And then re-engage the legs. So push down through the feet, hug into the block, tailbone lengthens down, pubic bone draws up. And then see if here, as you draw those front ribs back, you can slide the shoulder blades onto the back body as the sternum lifts and the center of your crown lifts. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing, although in this plane. So you'll inhale and draw your hands to the left, bend the elbows, and pull it over to the right. And you'll do about 3 more of these. She calls these fanny circles, and it's essentially like you're just toweling yourself off, bringing that towel up as high to your low ribs as you can, keeping the front ribs pulling back, and then just breathing as you do so. And this is getting a different part of the shoulder girdle. And again, not so important really what the elbows are doing. We're just encouraging movement. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and switch sides. Keep the legs active and then go over to the right and coming back and over to the left. And you just want to notice if you stopped breathing or if your breath can become a little bit more conscious. When we do this type of conditioning work, it's easy to check out, want to hurry up and get to the end of it, but how can we remember that every aspect of life, even this, is part of the journey helping us get somewhere? Whoa, we may not know where that is. Okay, last step. Oh, wow, okay, go ahead and release, and just notice what you notice in your arms, your chest, the spine, and then we'll add on. Bring your hands into the loop of your strap and then turn your palms to face up like you're delivering a platter of pizza to someone. Now, I encourage you to have your thumbs on the outside, but you can put them on the inside too if that works better for you. It doesn't really matter as far as I know. And so we'll just start by pushing out into the strap. And you'll notice here that you can start to feel a lot of stuff happen in the front of your chest. But can you draw the front ribs in and back and push down through the legs so that you can feel stuff happening, whoa, in the back of your body, more in the shoulder blades. And you'll just pull here. The elbows stay in line with the waist as you lift up through the head and start to pull out. And you're kind of pushing, pulling out into the hands, maybe about 30 to 40% of your capacity. I mean, you can go balls to the walls, but you might be tired later. Cool. Now we're going to try a tug of war. So you'll pull your hands over to the left, and the right arm will internally rotate, and then you'll go over to the right, and the left arm will internally rotate. And you'll do about 3 more sets of these on your own. And you're noticing that you want to see if you can let the elbows just hang near the waist and that they don't swing out too far. You want to see if the activity can be more on the back of your body versus the front of your body. And you'll notice that because the body is asymmetrical, even in its perceived symmetry, one side might feel a little bit better than the other. And so you're just choosing to pay attention and notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and come back to center. Turn your palms to face the floor now. And you're going to push out through your pinky fingers a lot, like you're trying to break the strap. And start to straighten your arms. And oh, buddy, look at that sensation. As the arms straighten, lower them towards the floor. Bring the strap along the tops of your thighs, and you'll push back into your hands while pushing out the whole time, hugging shoulder blades onto back body, hugging down into that block, lengthening tailbone down, reaching crown up, and hooray, we're done with that. Okay, let's go ahead and put the strap off to the side for a moment, and just extend your arms alongside your hips. Now, we want to try what's called internal and external rotation. So if you turn your palms to face forward and your thumbs are now facing out and away from the body, this is external rotation. And then if your palms face behind you and the thumbs face in, that's more of an internal rotation. So you'll just take 3 to 4 of these, and you'll notice that perhaps as you go into external rotation, your thumbs can start to swim behind you even more. And then as you go into internal rotation, the thumbs might also swim more behind you. So you'll just notice how far you can go into your depth of internal and external rotation. And as you're doing this, please notice what's happening in the shoulders, noticing that perhaps one allows the chest to open more, external rotation, and the other allows the chest to round in more, internal rotation. Okay. Come back to anatomical neutral. So the palms are facing forward and the arms are in external rotation. And I want you to pay attention to what is happening in your right hand. Turn the right hand out even more so that your palm can face away from you. Keeping that right hand facing away from you, you'll bring the hand to the wall. Now you want to make sure the right hand is in line with your right hip. Your thumb is now facing behind you. And then the hips are as far away from the wall or as close to the wall as you need to be, but most likely you've got about at least 4 to 5 to 6 inches. Okay, finding Tadasana in our legs. So you're going to lift all 10 toes, spread wide through the toes and put the toes back down. Hug into your block. Lengthen your buttocks flesh down and scoop the pubic bone to your belly button. Keep all of that and draw your front ribs in and back and see if you can lift up through your skull. Now push your right hand into the wall for dear life. And like we did earlier, you're going to push your knuckles or your pinky, the finger pads into the wall like you're clawing a giant basketball. Now, if that's already happening and you got a lot going on in your right side, just stay there. Otherwise, you'll start to tip your left ear over towards your left shoulder. And oh, buddy man, start breathing. Keep pushing your right hand into the wall. Keep breathing into the right side of your neck. Happy to stay there, or left hand comes to your right ear. And with the left hand on the right side of your head, start to push your head into your hand. Start to push the hand into the wall even more. And whoa, make sure you're still rooting through the legs, hugging into that block. Now, if that's working for you, stay there. Otherwise, you might start to turn your chin towards the chest. Keep breathing. Or turn your chin up towards the sky. Keep breathing. You've got 3 more breath cycles doing this. And again, I encourage you to keep breathing. You don't need to go balls to the walls, but you do need to keep pressing your hand into the wall and keep pushing your head into your hand if you're doing the side bend or the rotation. Awesome sauce. Bring your head back to that lateral flexion. So the lateral side bend. Release the left hand, bring the head up to vertical, and just drop your right hand and notice Ooh, what's happening in between the right and left side? You might want to take some shoulder circles. You might just be like, yep, Jessica, I'm done. Cool. We're going to do that again. So first things first, start with a rotation of that right palm. So the right palm is going to face the wall. Your thumb will face behind you. Now, depending upon your space, you might either walk forward or just simply slide your hand back. So now it's behind your bum by about 3 to 4 inches. Okay, same thing we did before. Find your legs, push down into the floor, hug into your block, lengthen your buttocks, flesh back, pull your front ribs in. Now, because your hand's slightly back behind you, your right ribs need to rotate a little bit more forward. Oh, buddy, and that suddenly changes something. And then make sure your right hip is also coming forward at the equal amount. Now, push your hand into the wall, claw the wall. So not really curling the fingers, but you're pushing your fingertip pads into the wall. Now, if that's already happening and you're like, yep, I'm going to stay there, you stay there. My hypermobile people, make sure you're not hyperextending through that back elbow. And then you might tip your left shoulder or your left ear to your left shoulder and breathe. And if that's already enough stuff happening on the left side of your neck, right side of your neck, by all means stay there. Otherwise, left hand comes to the right side of your head. Keep pushing right hand into the wall. Keep pushing your head into your left hand. And then see if you can breathe. And then if you can do all that, you might stay there, or you might start to turn your chin towards your armpit, your left armpit, or up towards the sky. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. Unless you feel like you're done with that, re-engage the abdomen. Keep pushing through the feet. Bring the head to a lateral side bend. Release the left hand and draw the head up to vertical. Release the right arm. And maybe take some circles. Maybe just notice what's happening. I know that when I did this the very first time, it felt like one hand was a lot, or one shoulder was a lot lower. Okay, third time's the charm. This one's a little bit different. Your hand is going to be back behind you. So again, you might need to walk forward, you might need to walk a little bit back, depends upon your configuration. But start by turning your right palm to face the wall. So fingertips are facing down, thumb is facing back behind you, and we've got that external rotation in the shoulder. Start to slide your hand back. So now it's about, 12 inches behind your bum, 12 inches back and up, so it's more on a diagonal. And again, push down through the feet, hug into your block. Scoop the tailbone down as you lengthen the pubic bone up and hug your front ribs back. Press into the wall for dear life. So all that's still the same. This time, you're going to imagine that you're swiping your palm up. So isometrically drag your hand up the wall and notice what that does in the shoulders. And then relax that a little bit. And then isometrically push down into the pinky finger down towards the floor with that hand. Notice what that does. And relax. And then isometrically drag the heel of your hand forward. And notice what that does. Gently release that. And we'll see you on the other side. Okay. So turn around. You're going to see my bum. I'm going to be doing the opposite side, but trying to cue you the same. So first things first, turn your left palm to face the wall. Make sure your left thumb is pointing straight back behind you and you've got that external rotation in your shoulder joint. And then press the palm into the wall. Find your feet with all 10 toes. Spread the toes and lower them down. Squeeze into your block. Lengthen your buttocks flesh down and scoop your pubic bone to your belly button. Draw your front ribs in and back and push your hand into the wall. Now, if that's working for you, you just stay there. Otherwise, you'll start to tip your right ear towards your right shoulder. And if that's enough of a sensation, you'll just keep pushing the hand into the wall and stay here. Otherwise, your right hand will come to the left side of your head. Push your head into your hand into your head, push into the wall. And then you might start to take your chin towards your right armpit or up towards the ceiling. And again, make sure you're staying engaged with those legs, pushing into the wall, pushing into your hand. Nice work. Go ahead and find a neutral spot with the head in that side bend. Release your right hand and bring the head up to vertical. Release the left hand from the wall. And notice if you need to move around here or not in the shoulders. Okay, second set. Turn your left palm out, so externally rotate that arm. Make sure the fingertips point straight down. The thumb faces back. Bring that hand now behind you, about 3 or 4 inches. Spread wide through the fingers and push the whole hand into the wall. Lengthen buttocks, flush down, hug into that block, and draw front ribs in and back. Stay there or start to tip your right ear to the right. Stay there or draw right hand to left side of head. Stay there, pushing head actively into hand as you push your hands into the wall, or start to rotate your chin down towards the floor and then up towards the sky. And you've got 2 more breath cycles here, really just noticing what you notice wherever you happen to be. And then if you're in movement, come to stillness. If you're in that lateral flexion, come to a neutral position. Release your right hand, draw the head up to vertical. Release the left hand from the wall. And pause and breathe. Okay, last set. Turn the palms away from you. So left palm is still facing towards that wall. Slide it back behind you and spread wide through the fingers. Now, depending upon where you are in your space, hopefully you can hold on to the wall isometrically. So you're like really digging your fingers into that. Continue to draw those left ribs forward. Hug into the block, push through the feet, lengthen through the tail, reach up through the crown. Now from there, just push into the wall and isometrically drag it up. Keep from hyperextending in that back elbow. And then release that, and then isometrically drag down. And release that and isometrically pull forward. And release that. Okay. Last thing at the wall. Go ahead and remove your block. And this one is what we call in ballet first position. Pilates also calls this Pilates stance. So you're going to open your right arm again out to the right. And I encourage you to lower it a little bit lower than your shoulder, not by much, but you might have it shoulder height, but it might create a lot of tension for you. So maybe a little bit lower is best. And you're going to spread wide through your fingers and push your hands into the wall. Then from here, come into what's first position. So your heels are together and your toes are spreading out, and it's just like a little pizza pie happening in your feet. Now, as best as you can, you want to push your heels into each other. You want to hug your thighs towards each other, so we'll see if that can happen, and your buttocks flesh will reach down. Now, push out into the wall as best as you can as you pull those front ribs in. Whoa, and that's fun. And you might just stay there with the other arm on boss, or just down in first position. Or you might extend the arm out to second position, flex through the arm, and push out through both heels of your hands, hugging the shoulder blades onto your back body, and saying, okay, we can breathe. Okay. And you might stay there, or you might start to pivot your whole torso slightly away from the wall. So in this instance, turning to your left, you're still pushing out through both hands, you're hugging front ribs in, you're lengthening buttocks flush down and hugging the backs of your thighs together. Ooh, buddy man. And then we'll just release that. So that was probably a lot of nerve stuff happening on your right arm. And we're going to do all that on the other side. So now your left hand is coming to the wall, and it's a little bit lower than shoulder height. Push out through the hand, really activating all your energy into the wall, and then externally rotate the thighs. And it doesn't have to be a big first position. Literally 90-degree angle is more than sufficient. Push out into the wall. Push your heels into each other and root down through your legs. Hug your thighs together as the tailbone lengthens down. And your other arm can just be on bob, which means it's just right in front of your thigh. Or you can open it out a la second position. Flex through the heel of that hand, push out through both hands, keep pulling your front ribs in and back and sliding shoulder blades towards each other on the back. You might stay there or start to take a slight pivot of the whole torso towards your right. So away from that left hand, whoa, and keep pushing out through the left hand, keep hugging your front ribs back, shoulder blades onto your back body. Nice work. And gently unwind. Okay, great. We're done with the wall. I bet you're happy about that. I know I am. Cool. Now you're going to take your strap and you're going to put it on your head. That sounds funny. You are going to put it on your head. And you want to loop it around the back of your skull so it goes over your ears and it's at the back of your ears. Now, hopefully you've made enough of a loop, really depends upon the length of your arms, so that you can put that strap on your head and you can straighten your arms. And the best thing that you're going to do first is you're going to try to find that Tadasana. So now we don't have the block. So you're going to push down through the feet, hug into your imaginary block, lengthen your tailbone down, hug the pubic bone up, hug the front ribs back. Now press back into your head. So your head is pushing into that strap, but pull forward through your arms. Now you can stay there, or you can start to reach the fingers up by pushing the head back. So all that's happening at the same time to find an upper back bend. Arms are pulling forward, head is pushing back, the tailbone's lengthening down, finding an upper back extension here. And then notice if one side feels different than the other. See if you can find equanimity as best as you can. Whew. And then when you're ready, you'll gently release that and say sayonara to the strap. And just take a moment before you do anything else to notice what you notice. Like for me, it feels like my head is hovering off the floor. You might have that experience, you might feel like just how that didn't happen, but just see what you're feeling. Okay, so next thing, moving on. This I learned from Chaterrwyn, and I love this. I think this is the most amazing thing. You might not like that, so that's okay. But we're gonna start with our feet a little wider than your shoulders, a little wider than your hips. Take the beveled edge of your block, so that's the part where the two edges come together. And you're going to bring those to your hip creases. And then I want you to sit your butt back like you're sitting in a chair very lazily, very languidly. And see if you can bring your belly, oh, that's nice, over the blocks. And if we've got it right, the flat side of the block is on the flat side of our thigh, or rather, the flat side of the block is supporting our thigh as well as supporting our abdomen. And then from there, you can start to reach the hands to the floor and let your head drape towards the floor. And you might grab opposite elbow and you might not. And if you're finding this position does not feel so good for you, you might have the blocks turned in a not so great position. So see if the widest part can be flush with your thighs. And that will just create a little bit more space, contact surface for the body to really hang. And then once you're here, see if you can breathe. Breathing is important, very, very important. It's all yoga teachers really talk about. And so let's see if you can find your breath here. Okay, very gently, you'll release your hands to the floor and you'll lift your spine enough to remove the blocks. From there, I encourage you to put the blocks on the highest setting underneath your shoulders. And then maybe you can put your forearms on the blocks and just let your head drop towards the floor. Your hands might also touch the floor or the blocks, and then you might stay there, or you might move around a little bit from right to left. And as you're doing this, you still want to see if you can keep that sense of spaciousness in the hip creases, as though the blocks were still there. Awesome sauce. From there, let's bring our hands to our blocks. Inhale, lift halfway up. Great. Now, because we've been inverted, we want to be very mindful coming out of this. So bend your knees like you're a football player, getting ready to pass the ball to the quarterback. And then bring one hand to one hip and the other hand to the other hip. Now draw the shoulder blades onto your back body, push down through the feet and lift up through the spine. Now, if you find that you've gotten to vertical and you're like, whoa, I'm really dizzy, drop your chin towards your chest, lift your sternum up, and just take a moment to breathe there, allowing the blood pressure to re-stabilize. Great. If you need a few more moments, just go ahead and pause the video and stay there. Otherwise, we're going to add on. So we'll remove those blocks for a moment. Let's put them towards the top of our space for just good measure. Okay, and then you will cross your right leg in front of your left leg. You'll bring both of your hands to your hips like you're having a temper tantrum or being a diva. And then, let's go ahead and bring our left hand to the back of our head. Now push your head into your hands and stand very tallly. And then reach up through your left elbow as you lean back. So it's like you're a fun fashion model. And then you're going to start to push your pelvis towards the left and lift up through the left elbow. Push your head back into your hands and notice the stretch that's happening on the left side of the body as you soften any unnecessary tension on the right side of the body. Awesome sauce. Gently come up. Release the left hand, uncross the right leg, and we'll try that on the other side. So left leg crosses in front, hands come to your hips. Bring your right hand to the back of your head. Push your head into your hands, your hand into your head, lift up through that sternum. Then start to push your pelvis to the left, to the right. As you reach up through the right elbow, keep lengthening tailbone buttocks flesh down and leaning the head back. Whoa, that's fun on this side. And notice if it feels the same on both sides or if it feels a little bit different. And either case is okay. Nice job. All right, gently come up, release the right arm, and uncross the legs. Great. Now let's bring yourself to the top of your space, and blocks hopefully are already set there. And you'll just go ahead and fold forward into a forward fold. And you might need to use your blocks, you might not. But then you'll bend your knees, plant your palms, and step your right foot back and your left foot back. Find yourself in Phalangasana plank pose. And then lower your knees to the mat and lower your chest to the mat. Now, once you get down onto the mat, you'll walk both of your forearms forward. So you're in what's called Sphinx pose. Now, spread wide through both of your hands. So just like we did earlier at the wall, you're spreading wide through your fingers. Make sure your elbows are underneath your shoulders and your legs are parallel towards each other. Now, your feet can be active, but your knees can stay on the floor the whole time. Heavy, heavy knees. Take a big breath in here, pulling your heart forward through the gateways of your arms. And as you exhale, start to tuck your chin towards your chest and see if you can look to see your own pubic bone. Now, as you look back, you have to lift the belly up to see your pubic bone and then see if you can see your knees. Take a breath in here, hollowing out the body, lifting the hips a little higher, keeping the knees on the floor. With an exhale, start to lower the thighs back to the floor, lower the pelvis to the floor, and inhale, pull your heart and sternum forward and through. And we'll do that 2 more times. So exhale, chin to chest, look underneath you to see if you can see your pubic bone first, and then see if you can see your knees. Inhale, hollow out the core, lengthen your bum flesh back to your knees. And as you exhale, lower the thighs back down, lower the pelvis back down. The inhalation draws the heart forward and through. And here's our last set. Exhale, chin towards the chest, curling through the spine, looking at your belly, looking at your pubic bone, looking at your knees. Inhale, hollowing the spine, pushing down through the forearms, down through the knees. And exhale, lowering the thighs down, lowering the pelvis down. Inhale, pulling the heart forward, lifting regally through the crown. And exhale, lowering all the way down. Replant your hands alongside your ribs. Tuck both sets of toes under, and you can either push through modified plank or plank, and then make your way back to downward facing dog. Now here's our first down dog. Isn't that surprising? We have not been here yet. So just take a moment to check in, see how your shoulders are doing, how your thighs are doing. See if you can hollow out those hips like we did when we had the blocks. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back behind you, finding that 3-legged dog. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Now at this point, you might want to put your blocks underneath your hands if it feels like the floor is super far away from you. By all means, please do that. Otherwise, your hands might be on the floor. And we're just going to frame that front foot for a moment. Reach back through your inner right thigh, inner right heel, push down through your left hand. Now as you inhale, slide your right hand a little bit over to the right, just a little bit, and exhale, hug the outer hips towards each other. Listen closely. Inhale, your left arm is going to reach up, your heart will reach forward, your head will lean back. As you exhale, both hands come to the inside edge of your front foot. Inhale, sweep your right arm up, press the left arm into the left knee into the left arm. And then exhale, lower that right hand back slightly to the right. 2 more times. Inhale, sweeping the left arm up, rotating through the rib cage. And exhale, lowering the hand to the inside of your front foot. Inhale, sweeping that right arm up, pushing left arm into left knee into left arm. And exhale, lowering the right hand down. Last set. Inhale, sweeping that left arm up, rotating through the spine. And exhale, lowering the hand down. And then inhale, sweeping up through your right arm. And exhale, lowering down. Awesome sauce. Make sure the right hand is slightly to the right, and then you'll inhale one last time, reaching up through the left arm. You might start to fan your left toes to the left, your right toes to the left, and push through the right hand to lift up in a modified side plank. Nice job. When you're ready, you'll come back to that low lunge position, both hands on the inside edge of your front foot. Step your back foot in a bit, spin the foot down so the toes point towards the right hand, and then inhale, reach the right arm up for extended side angle variation. And you'll see if you can keep the heart reaching forward, leaning back. You might extend your right arm alongside your ears, or just keep it up to the sky. And on your next exhale, right hand comes back to the floor. Step back, plank pose. Take a moment to pause, take a moment to breathe, and then exhale, lower your knees, lower the chest all the way to the floor. Bring yourself back to Sphinx pose, so forearms crawl forward, tops of the feet press back. Okay, and then we'll just do two more of those things. So you'll inhale, pull heart and sternum forward, and then exhale, curl underneath. Press down through the forearms and look at your pelvis. Inhale, hollow out the spine even more, pressing down into your limbs. And then exhale, lowering the thighs, lowering the pelvis. Inhale, draws the heart forward and through. And exhale, rounding into the spine, pushing down through the forearms, lifting up through the core. Inhale here, lifting the spine a little bit more. And exhale, thighs down, pelvis down, tailbone back. Heart and sternum forward and through. Exhale, lower the spine down. Slide the hands alongside the ribs. Tuck the toes under, and then either modified plank or plank. And then hips high, downward facing dog. And 3 steady breaths. Then we'll try that all on the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. And then exhale, crawl that foot between your hands. Make sure you've got a long stance. Push down through the hands, lift up through the thighs, and hug your outer hips in. Now walk your left hand a little bit to the left. And then inhale, reach your right arm up, rotating towards the right. And then exhale, right hand comes to the inside edge of your right foot. Other side. Inhale, rotating to the left. And exhaling, coming back down. 2 more. Inhale, going to the right. Keep engaging that back glute. And exhale, coming down. Inhale, coming up with the left hand. Pushing right arm into right knee. And exhale, coming down. Last set. Inhale, rotating through the ribcage, keeping the heart open. And exhale, coming down. Last set. Rotating all the way to the left. And exhale, coming down. Okay, this time you'll make sure the left hand is slightly to the left. Push down through the left hand, rotate up through the right. You might spin both sets of toes to the right, roll into the knife edge of the right foot and the knife edge of the left foot in a modified Vashisthasana. And you'll take 1 more breath cycle there. And then gently come back to that low lunge position. Step your left foot in a bit. Turn the toes down for about a warrior 2 position. And start to reach up through your left arm. And pause and breathe. You might just keep reaching up through that arm or extend it alongside your ears. But you'll notice what you notice, where you can soften any tension in the neck. And then gently lower the left hand down and step back, plank pose. Lower the knees, lower the chest. Great job. Come back to Sphinx. And you'll pause here, pulling wide through the hands, pulling the heart and sternum forward and through. And just 1 of these this time. So you'll exhale, curl all the way under. And we'll stay here for a few breaths. So inhaling, lifting the pelvis a little higher. Exhaling, seeing if you can lengthen tailbone, buttocks flush back. Inhale, lift a little higher. And then exhale, tops of thighs to the floor, pelvis to the floor. And inhale, heart comes forward. Next exhale, lower the chest down. Bring the hands alongside the lowest ribs. Tuck your toes under, plank or modified plank. And then make your way back to downward facing dog. Nice work. Okay. Go ahead and gaze between your hands and slowly walk your feet towards your fingers. And then once you get there, you might grab opposite elbow and just hang for a moment, hollowing out those hip sockets as though the blocks were there. Release your hands. And then walk your hands up your shins, lift your spine halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Pause, shoulders slide away from the ears and onto your back body. And next in breath, go ahead and come all the way up to stand. Okay. Now, once you're vertical, we're gonna do something that ideally I would have put earlier on, but what are you gonna do? So we're gonna go ahead and bend our knees. And you're pretty much in chair pose. This is pretty much chair pose. And I want you to pay attention to not having all of your weight shift off to a side, but see if you can keep it grounded, straight up and down like a telephone pole or something. So all the weight is going to shift to your left leg. Hands come to heart center. Push your palms into each other. Lift your sternum up. Now start to walk your right leg out to the right. So in ballet, we would call this a tendu à l'esauce. It's a tendu to the side. And you might just stay there on your toes. You might start to lift the toes up to your knees, so you're flexing through the foot. You might stay at that height with both legs staying parallel, or you might lift up and hover for 3. And hover for 2. Keep the spine long and tall. Hover for 1. Point the toe if you flex the toe. Lower the toes back down and step back into that weird squatty chair position. Make sure your feet are still parallel towards each other and bend your knees as best as you can. Transfer the weight to your right leg. Extend your left leg out to the side. Tendu à l'esauce. And then you're going to push the sternum into the heart. And you might stay there, or you might flex through that left foot and lift the leg and hold for 3, and hold for 2, and hold for 1. Go ahead and point through the toes, lower the foot back down, step the foot in, and go ahead and stand tall. And you'll just pause and breathe and notice what you noticed in doing all of that. Okay, hopefully that was okay. We're going to now add on, and this is still more leg stuff. So grab your blocks and put them at the highest setting at the top of your space. And then you'll go ahead and step your feet behind them. And again, it really just depends upon how long your torso is in comparison to your legs. My torso is a little shorter, so I'm a little closer to the blocks. Your torso might be longer, so you might need to be further away from the blocks. But you'll hinge at your hips and bring your hands onto the blocks. And ideally, you want to make sure that your blocks are a little bit wider than your shoulders, because it'll make this next thing a little bit easier. Okay, root down through your right leg, swing your left leg long and back. And the first thing we're going to try to do is just find this warrior 3 variation. So you're pushing down through the hands, you're pushing down through the leg, you're reaching back through the leg, and you're hugging your inner thighs towards each other to keep everything straight. Curl all 5 toes of that left leg up to your left hip. And on your next exhale, you'll bend both knees, swing the knees towards each other. Don't let the left heel touch, and swim the left leg forward for a piston squat. And then you'll go back, straightening the right leg, straightening the left leg. And you'll do 2 more of those on your own, and you're just following your own breath. Ideally, exhaling as you come through, using the power of the breath to support you. And then inhaling as you unwind. Exhale to kick the foot back behind you, taking a breath in here. And then your next exhale, hugging back through for that piston squat. Awesome sauce. The next time your left leg is back behind you, just take a moment to pause, keep the hips square to the floor, push out through the left heel, reach out through the crown, maybe lift a little higher through the rib cage, and then exhale, lower that left foot next to its mate. And then we'll try all that on the other side. So push down through the hands, hug up through the front ribs, reach down through the left foot, swing the right leg back behind you. Now make sure that the hips stay square to the floor. The right leg stays active. Toes are pulling towards the kneecap. And then exhale, hug the knees towards each other. Swim the right leg forward and through. Hover the left heel off the floor most likely. And you'll do 2 more of those on your own. And you're just noticing what you notice as you do this. Last one. Make sure you're breathing. I know when I do these, I don't breathe, not as much as I should. Okay, when that right leg's back behind you, just take a moment to pause. In your warrior 3 variation, maybe lift up a little higher through the torso, reach back more through the right leg, down through the left foot, soften shoulders away from the ears, and then slowly step that right foot in. Wiggle walk your feet out a bit, and then turn the toes out. Bring the pelvis down to sit from Alasana, and you'll keep rolling your butt to the floor and draw the soles of your feet towards each other. And you'll just pause here for a moment. Sit as tall as you can in Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose, so soles of the feet together. Knees open, splayed like a book. And we'll pause, and we'll breathe, and we'll pause, and we'll breathe. Okay. Now we're going to add on. So let's go ahead and bring our block behind our pelvis, sitting once again in Virasana. So toes are pointing back, ankles are hugging in. Now I want you to spread wide through all of your toes and remove any flesh from underneath your buttocks flesh so that you can sit nice and tall. And then you'll start by stepping your left foot in front of you, and your foot and your knee are probably in the same alignment. And then bring your hands back behind you. Fingertips face out to the right and to the left, heels of the hands face in. Now you'll push down into your left foot, your right shin, and lift your pelvis forward. Once the hips are high, hug the shoulder blades onto the back and see if you can mermaid your chest forward and up. Awesome sauce. And then gently lower the pelvis back down. Slide your hands back just about an inch or two. And we'll do that one more time, but this time you'll bend your elbows, hug your elbows towards each other, start to press your chest towards your knees, and then push down through your left foot, down through your right shin, lift your hips high. And you might stay here. You might fidget around a little bit right to left if that feels okay on your right shin and knee. And then when you're ready, you'll come back down. Bring your spine back up to vertical and step your left foot back and step your right foot forward. Okay, we will do all the same thing on the other side, but first, make sure your toes are flared on that back foot. Hands come back behind you. Fingertips face out, heels of the hands face in. Now, make sure we're identifying the stretch in the belly of the quad, not at the knee and not at the hip. Please modify if that's the case. Okay, and we'll push down into the hands, down into the left shin, down into the right foot. Pelvis comes forward, shoulder blades on back, sternum reaches forward and up. And we want to ideally keep that knee and shin down on the left leg. And then you'll come down. And then maybe walk the hands back. And we'll do that one more time. So push down into the shins, push down into the hands, hug the elbows towards each other, press wide through the index fingers. And maybe you shift the pelvis a little right to left. And when you're ready, you'll come down, walk forward, and come up to sit. Okay, so we're going to rewind just a little bit, do a little bit of strengthening before we hopefully make our way into Ustrasana. So go ahead and separate your feet so you're in a little V shape. It does not have to be your most exciting V shape on the whole planet, but just a V shape. And then you'll bring your block on the lowest setting towards your left leg. Word to the wise, the closer this block is towards my hip, the harder that it is. The further that it's away from my hip, the easier that it is. So you choose that for you. First time though, we're going to do it with a little bit of assist. So your hands are going to come back, flex through your toes or flex through your feet so your toes pull back, and then push down through the hands to lift the heart and chest up. Exhale, engage the belly on the left side. So your psoas and hover that left leg up. Whoa, and draw it over the block and slowly lower down. Let's do that again. So hug up, go over the block and slowly lower down. Cool. You can do that again if that worked for you, or frame the left leg with both of your hands. And then again, you're still going to hug up through the belly, lift the leg up, go over the block and lower it down. And then do it again, going the other way. Okay. that was enough of a challenge for you, by all means, do that again. If you want a little bit more challenge, you can come up on the higher setting. For me, with this being my right side, I'm not going to do that, but you can do that if you'd like. And then you'll hug everything in, lift your left leg up, hover over the block, slowly lower it down. And then last time, hug the belly in, lift the left leg up, go over and lower down. Great. And then we'll do all that on the other side. So the block will now swim to your right leg. It's on the inside edge. You might have your hands back behind you. You might be over your leg. And we'll do it 3 times. So hands back behind you for the first one if you'd like. Hug the belly in, lift the right leg up, slowly reach it over and down towards the floor. And then same thing. Really helps if you exhale, whoa, and lift the leg up and down. Second set, remember to sit tall. And then belly comes in and slowly move down. And slowly lower down. Cool. Maybe you turn it up to the third setting. And one more time. Nice. Okay. For a moment, draw the soles of the feet towards each other once again for Baddha Konasana. Maybe your hands come back behind you and you hover your pelvis off the floor just to allow a little bit of opening there. All right. So for the peak pose of the day, let's see how that goes. We will take Ustrasana, camel pose. Now, if your knees, ankles, or shins are sensitive, highly encourage you to use a blanket underneath. And again, not necessary, just one of those things I like to do. And if you choose to do that, you'll walk your kneecaps forward enough so that the kneecaps can slide off the front of the blanket. And then I highly encourage you to bring both blocks alongside your feet, the outer edges of your feet, on the highest setting. Now we're coming back to that toe squat position that we started with at the beginning of class. So your toes are tucked under. Hands can either stay on your blocks or they can stay onto your heels. But we're going to do what we essentially did a little bit earlier before. So you're going to push down through your feet, push down through your shins, curl your tailbone up, and start to press your pelvis forward. Hug the shoulder blades onto the back body, lifting the sternum up to the sky like Little Mermaid. And then maybe you can take your gaze up to the ceiling and maybe back behind you. And you'll just take a moment to pause. And you'll take a moment to breathe, keeping the inner legs active, the tailbone lengthening down, the upper back active. And when you're ready to come down, you'll simply draw your butt back towards your heels. Ooh, sit tall through the spine. And then slowly make your way onto your back. And when you make your way onto your back, just take a moment to pause. Make sure your block, your blanket, and your strap are somewhere easily accessible to you. And you're just going to pause. And you're just going to breathe. And you're just going to see how the body's doing in this moment in time. Noticing that oftentimes it's the journey, at least that's what people say, it's more important than the destination in mind. And you're just noticing the journey that we've had, noticing the destination that you're at this moment. Okay, last thing. Go ahead and put your legs through the hole of your strap. So if your strap's tangled up a bit, you might need to untangle that. You put your legs through the hole of the strap. And then tighten that strap so that your thigh bones can remain parallel towards one another and in alignment with your hips. And then once you've got that down, walk the feet in so they're close to your sit bones. Bring your hands alongside your hips and turn your palms to face up so that the whole upper arm and forearm externally rotate. So back to that. Now, notice if you need to turn your heels out a little bit or your toes out a little bit so it feels good in your knees. And then you'll start to push down into your feet, push out into your strap, and lift your hips high. Once your hips are high, walk the shoulder blades underneath you a little bit more. Maybe walk the hands in a little bit more. Push down into the arms, push down into the feet, push out into the strap. Draw your sternum towards your chin and your chin towards your sternum just a bit. And then press straight down into your skull. Take a moment now to breathe into the space behind your heart as you push the arms down, as you push the thighs wide, as you push the big toes down. Keep pushing down into the arms. Keep breathing into the back of the shoulder blades. And when you're ready, you'll untuck the shoulders and you'll slowly descend the pelvis to the floor and pause. Now at this moment, just notice all the energy that's probably floating around in your heart space, probably floating around in your chest. And I'd like you to check in for you and see what feels like it might be the next best thing for you to do. You might choose to lift your hips once again and slide a block underneath your sacrum for a supported bridge. You might choose to take a more active shoulder stand. You might find that you want to take a supported bridge, but slowly walk your legs in front of you or slowly reach your feet up towards the sky. But you're tuning in to what feels best to you and really honoring that in this moment. And you've got another minute or so doing whatever the heck you happen to be doing. So I encourage you to do what feels best, what enables your body to gently unwind. And then once you feel pretty complete for you, you will start to make your way to your final resting pose. Now, one of the benefits of a recording is that if you are not quite ready yet to wind down, you can pause the video here and then just hit play when you are ready to wind down. But when you are, start to make your way to your final resting pose. I would encourage Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees open and splayed like a book, using those blocks to support the outer edges of your thighs, maybe the blanket to cover the pelvis. And then as best as you can you allow the palms to face up and splay away from the body in that open, receiving external rotation of the thoracic spine. And as you find yourself in that shape, start by noticing first where you might begin to soften. We started with softening and yielding, and see where you might be able to soften. Maybe you can soften more energy around the hips, the low back. Maybe you can soften energy around the abdomen. Maybe around the chest, the heart, the lungs, the shoulders, the throat. Maybe you soften more tension around the fingers or the toes, around the jaw, the eyes, the forehead. And maybe you have to keep going back to a certain point where you continue to allow that point to soften even 1,000% more. As your awareness continues to notice new places where the body can continue to soften, allow your awareness to really just notice that softening and notice what impact that softening of the physical body, the muscular body, the skeletal body has on the breath body. Continue to soften. Continue to breathe. Continue to just be with the unfolding of your own experience for the next moment or so. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, notice if there's any part of you that longs to linger in this shape. And if so, by all means, hang out here as long as you'd like. When you are ready to move forward, start to invite small movement into your physical form in whatever way feels best, most nurturing, kind, and gentle to you. And you might find that that becomes wiggles and yawns and stretches. So when you're ready, you'll make your way over to your right side into a soft semi-fetal position. Use your right arm to support your head and neck like a little gentle pillow. And just take a moment to take this in, really allowing yourself to be in this shape. Begin to roll your chest more towards the floor. Press into your left hand. Release the right hand and walk yourself up to sit. I encourage you to take a moment to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket and to sit tall and well through the spine. As we're in this final shape, we'll notice first the weight of the legs into the floor, the weight of the pelvis into the support beneath you. Seeing if you can soften any tension in the hands, in the shoulders, and in the neck. Allow the eyes to soften into their sockets as you soften any tension around your tongue, your jaw, or your throat. And then notice if you can soften any tension around the heart, the ribs, the lungs. And then soften any tension around your abdomen. As we sit here for the next minute or so, just allow yourself to let go 0.001%. Whatever you don't need to maintain this posture with stability and ease. It's these moments that remind us that both on and off the mat, we can soften our approach just a little bit. We can trust just a little bit more. We can have faith that all things are always there for our betterment, for our strength, for our joy, for our happiness. We'll complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Bring your hands to heart center Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into the sternum and lift the sternum towards the thumbs. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. And then take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. The light within me honors and salutes the light within you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Otherwise, be well.